Brian, how are you, man? Thank you for taking out the time to come on the show. I know you got a very important fight, obviously, and a lot of training to do, but we appreciate you.
No, I appreciate you guys, man. Always appreciate you for having me,
Always
man.
feel like it's your
Had to make
time.
time.
So let's get into it, man. How is training camp? I guess that's the most important question, right?
Training camp is phenomenal, man. I know that's always the same answer, every time people ask, but it really is. It's just going great. Everything, is all the pieces are falling into place, and the work in that we put in between camps is actually why the camp is phenomenal. I'm already when I started this one, I was in better shape. I was in better, like mentally, physically, and everything, just better all around conditioning for to even start camp. So that we get to level up as we go in camp. It's never a fat camp or just trying to get back in the swing of things. Like we're already going, and the last 8 weeks of camp is really just to tighten everything up and just level up as we go.
So the nickname is La Bala, which means the bullet. Did you get First of all, did you give yourself the name? And if you didn't, was it given it to you for the speed or the power? What does the Bala in this, equation represent?
Yeah, it was given to me. I've never been a believer in. I kind of think it's corny when people just pick their own nicknames. Just kind of pick out of a hat or something or try to come up with something. But it was given to me, and even that came kind of naturally because I started boxing late. So with my first trainer, Fidel Maldonado, over in Albuquerque, they used to call me their secret weapon because I started boxing at 16. And within like the first year, I started coming onto the scene. Started winning some fights, getting knockouts, even in the amateur fights, and just even in sparring, making some noise. So he just kind of started calling me a secret weapon. We just kind of came up, started making noise and stuff, and then from there, it just sort of evolved into that. One day he came up with La Bala, and he's the one. My original trainer is the one that gave me that name, and it was definitely more for the power than the speed. The speed kind of came along later, but ever since I started boxing, I was kind of used to swing for the fences.
Um, when you say Fidel Maldonado, that has to be the father, right? Because you weren't being trained by the
Hmm.
young fighter, right? That didn't Fidel
No,
fight Omar Figueroa?
that was actually the big fight that they were building up. That the fight never played out. The both guys ended up taking a loss here and there before, and then it just or sorry, I don't know if Omar did, but yeah, it just how this thing they let the fights marinate and then it didn't
Mm-hmm.
play out in the long run, but they were building that up, and then you are right, but that's who I came up with. That's and he's kind of the reason I'm more comfortable with southpaws than right-handers because when I learned the box, it was more against him. We used to spar, get all my rounds in, and I got my early experience against him. Just tons of rounds with him. He was already pro, and he's actually the reason I'm more comfortable against southpaws, and I always kind of just prefer that, lean towards that. But yeah, it was him and the dad that I came up with, and then I got my experience in. He was signed with Golden Boy, so I got to see a lot of behind the scenes, at the shows, how stuff goes down and
Yeah.
everything, and got that experience early on.
So it was the father training you. You just got work with the son as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
I've always been the type of dude that I'll soak up knowledge around me, So I had a dude that was already he finished the amateurs. He was like ranked number two in the nation, and hot prospect coming up in the in the professional ranks. So I was soaking up knowledge, from him as well. He was a big inspiration, a big help coming up. But definitely, Fidel Senior was the head trainer there.
So when we're discussing the Tim Tszyu fight, you got adequate time. Would you say 10? Is it 10 full weeks they've given you?
Sure. I'm even like, man, even when I fought Jason Rosario, they said 10 days, but I was in a 7 month training camp, just locked in the gym. So
Mm.
it's very just hard to kind of line up the time because I don't take time off. And I don't mean that in the like, oh, like those corny dudes that, oh, I never take time off, blah, blah. I just genuinely, it's turned into a lifestyle. I'm always with my strength coach, Tony Brady, and just in the lab, even just working on strategy, whatever we do. I'm a true gym rat. So, I mean, yeah, you can say like we said, okay, from this date, we're gonna step up certain things, maybe 8 weeks out or more. But I've been in the gym. I think I only took like maybe like 3 full weeks off, and then I was already back boxing, back working with Tony Brady, and so we've been grinding. But yeah, you could say like I did get notice, ahead of time, and we're able to say, okay, 8 weeks out, we're starting stepping up this and this and this, and yeah, so full camp for sure.
That's great. Do you believe it's an issue that you've lost the element of surprise? Like, we know who you are now, or not we, but fighters know who you are. You know, you got the knockout. They're gonna be weary because of what you did to
Hmm.
Fundora. Or do you think that someone can? I guess Zoo specifically. Do you think he will overlook you, or based off everything that you've done, the year that you've had, it's impossible for him to be that naive?
I still think that from certain interviews I've seen and this and that, like he's respectful, but at the same time he's already talking about, oh, Canelo this, Charlo that. So I think while he's being respectful, I do still think all they see is a power puncher. And I think power punchers were in there with Fundora, and I keep telling people I'm more than a power puncher. So I think even me literally coming on podcasts and interviews and stuff and yelling this out, but there's still going to be a little bit of that element of surprise. Obviously, not to the full extent, because of what you just said, but I still think people just expect, oh, like, oh, he's got power, and in boxing, just one little attribute doesn't scare anybody, especially at the higher level. So, okay, sure, this guy's strong, this guy's fast, this guy's whatever, but I really think people underestimate my ring IQ.
Now, obviously, with this fight taking place this year, you're about less than 3 weeks out. Do you consider this activity for you? Do you like the time in between? Obviously, we've seen what happened with Earl Spence. The minute he lost, people are like, well, he was not in the ring for 15 months. You don't have
Hmm.
anything near that. You've been out the ring a couple of months. So, in terms
Hmm.
of activity, timing, Russ, those things should not be an issue for Brian Mendoza, correct?
Oh, absolutely not. Like I said, even starting this camp, I've been in better shape than I was in my peak for Mora. So everything's leveled up, and it's because of that. I'm blessed enough. You guys know how hard it is these days to stay busy, and I'm blessed, right now to be able to stay busy and just really get back in the ring and get these turnarounds because, like I said, I don't take time off, and as much as I'm in the gym, I don't love, just dying every single day. So it's really nice, to have this light at the end of the tunnel every time. Like, all right, you fought. All right, here goes another 15 months of training or something we got to put in. But it's even a little bit of a weight off my shoulders. It's like, all right, like I'm going back straight to go all in on training. But okay, it's only 7 months. It's only this. It's less and less each time. So I'm definitely super happy with that. And I think you guys are gonna see a sharper performance each time out because of it.
Can you walk us through the moment? Like, did you know immediately after Fundora fight, or did you get a random phone call? And if so, from who and what was that moment like? Because Tim Tszyu, not only is it a world title now that he's being elevated, but he's considered, you know, economically one of those guys. Like when we talk about Crawford and his possibilities, Tszyu is one of them because of the money that he brings to the table. So,
Mhm.
what were your emotions like?
Man, just ecstatic. Same thing as just I'm ecstatic for all this, man, because I'm happy, and these are the fights you wake up for. Like people keep asking me about the underdog role, and I'm truly cherishing this role because the victories when you pull off the impossible is man, it's a high I'm going to be chasing for the rest of my life. And it was the same thing with Rosario, same thing with Fundora, and I get these calls and. I feel like it should be like noted that how easily these fights are made, because there's very rarely even time for rumors to come out. It's like, oh, like I get the call and then immediately, like whatever we agree on, kind of negotiate some stuff, and boom, it's signed. So when you guys call me up, these fights get made. I want the tough fights. I want the big fights because that's where the glory's at. Obviously, the pay goes up, but the glory, the just the being able to chase greatness. That's what I'm doing at this point. I've already proven, like, okay, cool, I can pull off some big upsets and this and that. But at this point, I'm chasing greatness. So each fight from here on out, I'm really trying to reach even further and further, and seeing how far I can truly take it. But man, just ecstatic. That's what I can say about getting that call. I got that call from Louis de Cuba Jr. And he's been the one, just guiding the way in these last few fights. That's just truly, just making these opportunities happen. And then, now with this one, just pulling off, the negotiations and everything, and just making them happen because I'm ready to fight. I've always told people I don't care who I fight. I let my team handle that. I just want to focus on training. and you guys are seeing that play out now.
So when he calls you, like, does he just blurt it out? Does he ask you like, "Hey, I got to fight. Do you think you could beat this guy?" Like, how is that conversation though? Like, cause how does Louis call you to tell you you have this Tim Zoo fight?
Well, first, so Louis doesn't, he's not a bullshit type of dude. Like, if he calls you, it's with the possibility, it's because there's a big possibility he can make it happen. So
Hmm.
by the time he mentioned to me, to, I knew it was a real possibility. And then I told him, like, man, let's get this fight. And then you guys already know the fight fell through with Charlo and everything. So it just made the most sense, as far as, where my career is at right now and where he's at. And then just both, now he got elevated, but it's just, both at the level where it truly just made sense. So he just brings it up. He's like, hey, like I might be able to make this fight happen. What do you think? And I was like, bro, man, get me that fight, like please. I just immediately, man, I jumped on it, and
So
I was like, man, make this fight.
your first response wasn't like, "Really? The Zoo fight?" Like, you just was like, "Give it to me."
Oh yeah, absolutely, and it's because of what I said. If you guys have seen what Louis Cubas Jr. is doing in the sport, he makes things happen. He's not a guy that's gonna sell you a dream. He's like, nah, like if you win this fight, this happens. You can pull this off or whatever. When he brings you a possibility, it's because it's a true possibility. He's not bullshitting you and being like, oh, let me see if I can do this, whatever. Like by the time he brings it to you, you just know that he's thought it through in his head and everything. And man, I just love the way this guy works and the opportunities he can bring. So I didn't have to do the really. I skipped that part. I said, like, all right, if you can make it happen, I'm absolutely like, there's no like trouble on my side. Like, give me that fight. So so yeah, I got to skip that. Like the really, like, are you sure? Like, by the time he brought it to me, I kind of figured things were kind of moving. So I said, no, man, absolutely, man, green light, let's go.
So which fights did you watch so far of Zoo? Like, after receiving the call, I'm sure you've seen some of his fights
Hmm.
probably before, but getting the fight, has that made you go watch his fights?
Of course,
Okay.
I'm a boxing fan and a student of the game outside of it, anyway. So I was always watching the fights. I actually saw the Tszyu versus Gaucher fight live, and obviously them being in my weight, I was already looking at it, and that's actually where this whole like Rocky story kind of started. Like when I talk about that swing bout that I was on, where I fought after the main event, they were taking the lights down and everything. It was on the Tszyu versus Gaucher card.
Mm.
So that's when I fought Benjamin Whitaker, and I got that comeback fight, and it was a swing bout, just coming back from everything. And so that's where this whole thing started, and it's kind of going full circle. So I went, from the swing bout now to main event against him in Australia for a world title. And so yeah, so I've watched obviously his fight with Harrison, fight with Ocampo, some other fights, even not like some of the big name ones, just random little fights I found. And no, I'm always studying, I'm always learning. So I've always seen these fights, and now we kind of just go back, to nitpick, kind of things we can see, things you want to kind of emphasize in our training camp, to add into our arsenal. But yeah, so of course, so yeah, I've seen them before, and we've gone back and studied.
Specifically the Harrison fight. Again, no disrespect to Tony, but can you single out what you feel was his biggest mistake in that
Um,
particular fight?
right. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of things, I feel like he lacked just a lot of things in that fight. And that's what, was it an old Harrison, or was Sue just able to neutralize him? And that's what I plan on finding out on October 15th. Because, yeah, I thought that was a very weird version of Harrison, like he threw some jabs and stuff, but there was actually a point in that fight I thought maybe his right hand was even injured because he threw it so rarely. But nothing, like no news or anything ever came out anyway. But yeah, so I there was a lot in that fight, man. It was kind of stuff like that. Like I just feel like that wasn't the best version. But to Sue's credit, maybe he's just neutralized him that night. Maybe it was the things that he was able to do, and that's stuff that I have to find out for my own on fight night.
Um, Again, when considering that Terrell Gausha fight, I'm not a fighter. I can only imagine to be in your shoes, right? So, a guy like yourself that does have the label of a puncher, do you watch the Gausha fight and say to yourself, "Man, I gotta be able to drop him if Terrell did it"?
I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you and say no. I think, respectfully, I think Gausha has some pop, but I don't think he hits like I do. And but I do see, the way Gausha set it up. There was timing on it. He didn't just throw a right hand. It was timing, and everything he put into it. But of course, man, and it's not even just because Gausha, even if Gausha didn't drop him, like with Fundora, I obviously believed I could do something, and outside of Lubin, nobody had really put him in too much danger. There's some guys here, that caught him with some shots, but I believe in myself more than believing over other people. Like, oh, Gausha did it, so I can. I don't care if Gausha did or didn't. I believe I can.
What do you think Ishmael Salas brings to your team? Like, what does
He's
he bring, in your
yeah.
opinion, in your words?
Man, he just like ever since I was in Albuquerque, I felt like I was like 16-0 with I think like 11 KOs at that time, but I just felt like I was missing something. I felt like there was a higher level. I was like, there's no way this is good as like I can possibly get. I said like I think I'm missing something, and since back then I started studying fighters and trainers and really get into film study. And that's when I found Salas. And what Salas does is he breaks everything down to like just your full like foundation, all the fundamentals and everything. Like when you're shadow boxing and you think he's not even looking at you, you might just be shadow boxing in the mirror, moving around, and he'll literally yell at you from across the gym, like, "Hey, tuck your elbow in, like bend your knees a little more, put your chin down." Like he's always tweaking every little thing, so he's perfecting, the fundamentals and everything from the ground up. So that's why, like, they've even called him, the fixer. And some people have said it in a negative way, like he only gets built fighters that are kind of falling off, and he's got to fix them. But I see that as a positive thing. Like, old fighters like Linares was a kind of one of the best examples. Everybody said he was done, and then they brought him to Salas, and they had like probably their biggest run of his career. So he truly has an eye. Like if there's one thing he has, it's an eye. Like he has an eye to really spot. Like he'll pick the game plan. Like it'll kind of just come to him. Like he'll be studying, and then he'll really put everything together, and it all just flows. And he knows how to coordinate you. Like to just put the right programming into the robot and send it out, and kind of just let it work.
So you feel like you guys have great chemistry together.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's what you're seeing, man, because the progress I've made in these last 5 years in Vegas has been tremendous. And it obviously took a while at first, but I feel like the chemistry and everything with the entire team, not just Salas, but the entire team, even the fighters around me, are what's led to the progress that you guys have seen.
I was gonna add that part after, if you think it's a combination of, being in Vegas with Salas, or
Oh yeah.
is it that stable too? Because they say iron sharpens iron.
Absolutely. I was literally just after training today, I was just kind of staying there watching Robesi Ramirez train. And man, that guy's like a computer. He's literally the example of like I'll forget more than you've ever learned.
Mm.
Um, he's truly like that. Like there's moves I've copied from him that I've told him, hey, like I used this move today. I saw you do it today. He's like, huh? Like he didn't even remember doing it. And that's happened on more than one occasion because he's truly like a computer. With so much experience he's got that things come out naturally, and he's always there, like not just from watching him, but he's there to give advice, or if he sees you doing something, he'll also help you out. And that's the entire dynamic we have in the gym. Like you've been in tons of boxing gyms, so I know you've seen a lot of places that are very like hostile environments. Everybody's kind of like every man for himself type of thing. But at our gym, I don't care if it's an amateur or a seasoned vet, a multi-time world champion. We can all give each other advice and kind of bounce ideas off each other, and tweak little things here and there that we see. So of course and then me being a sponge, man, like I said, like I'll soak up all the knowledge from around me. I have a combination from tons of different fighters from all over the world, all the way from like Japan, places in Europe, freaking here in America, South America. Like I have all of that embedded into my own style.
Mm. I got a couple of questions here from the people. I got James Valdez in San Antonio, Texas. He says, if it could be up to you, who would you want to face after you beat the man from the land down under?
Man, so if Charlo really does come back down, I really feel like that needs to be a fight, for the throne. Because he's getting stripped of that WBO belt, and then so obviously he comes back down. That's the fight that would have to be made. So there's that. But man, I see Tim Tszyu. He's even mentioning Canelo. But I would say, don't be surprised, if after this fight, if you
He got a phone call. Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button while we wait for him to reconnect. We're now talking live with Brian Mendoza, who's going to be taking on Tim Tszyu for that full WBO. Remember, he's being elevated the minute Charlo's bell rings. And I don't mean getting punched by Canelo, I mean the actual bell rings when he steps in the ring. Uh-oh, that might have been an important call as he did not come right up. There he goes. Got you.
there we go. Sorry, man. I keep getting
Nah,
these
no
calls and stuff
worries.
coming in.
We're almost done. No worries.
Um,
You were gonna tell
no,
us.
no
Oh,
worries,
you
man.
were in the middle. You were in the middle of telling us that
The
obviously
fighters and
he
stuff.
was considering Zoo was considering Canelo, and I guess
Hmm.
you were gonna say something.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, Sue's even mentioning names like Canelo and stuff like that. So, don't be surprised, if you see me in a spot like that after a victory like this. And the reason I'm not talking too much on that is because I don't like to look forward. When it was every single fight I'm in, that's all I look at because you look too far forward, you're gonna slip and fall on the way there. So, I'm deadlocked and focused on this next fight. But yeah, after that, the sky's the limit, man. I come back, after all the ups and downs in my career, I come back and I win this WBO title. The sky's the limit. Who can't you see me in there with?
Wow. So the thought of you and Crawford hasn't passed your mind.
I mean, it's there. He's coming up to 54, whatever. He's talked about 68 for Canelo, but man, I think I proved at this point there's not a fight I'm avoiding. I want all the smoke with everybody.
No, I'm not.
And
I'm
I
not.
kind of.
I'm not insinuating you're avoiding. I'm saying it never crossed your mind. Like he's been hot after that fight, and the talk has been him
Hmm.
moving as far up as 68. So he can be an opponent for 54, 60, 68. It
Yeah.
never crossed your mind, like, man, maybe I could, because there was
Hmm.
rumors of him possibly fighting Zoo.
Yeah, but I even felt like that was more of like Sue's people looking for that fight. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how
Mm-hmm.
much interest Crawford's truly showing at 54, but man, if that fight presents itself, I'll take that fight as well.
Okay.
So there's even that one, yeah, of course.
I got Rue in the 504, which is New Orleans. He says, what's your mindset before fighting in Tim's backyard?
Man, it kind of goes back to what I said earlier about just enjoying this underdog role. Because man, if winning a fight like that over there. Man, just imagine, a whole stadium full of people that were booing you on the way in, start cheering you on the way out. Man, that's just an unbelievable feeling. So the mindset is, just I'm a gladiator. It doesn't matter where we go in for war. It's just go in there. I do my job and I get the victory. Like I'm fully planning on, and I just feel like I'm prepared to hear a whole stadium full of people cheering for me after that.
Nice. Speaking of whole stadium, give us a little background information on this picture. Is this a homecoming after winning the interim? What took place
Hmm.
here? Why are all these people here to see you?
So that was actually a boxing event. I went to support my homie Matthew Griego. He was out there fighting for a minor title himself, and I just went. I hadn't done the homecoming thing yet, and we kind of planned it, a little bit to just kind of do it there to go support the homie and do my own homecoming thing there. And man, Albuquerque welcomed me back home, with open arms, and it was just an amazing thing. And I'm hoping to do something even bigger next time out after bringing this WBO belt home.
We got Optimus Prime. He says, what are some things you think Tim does well, and will you capitalize on his lack of head movement? Do you believe he has no head movement?
I think you can time the head movement. I don't think he's like I don't think you would consider Tim a slick fighter. So that's why to an extent, I don't think there's a lot of head movement, but yeah, I mean, he has a lot of pressure. He's able to keep his distance when he does it. He doesn't fall forward too much. He likes to. I think that's something that helped him in the Harrison fight, the Tony Harrison fight, that he had Harrison on the ropes, but he wasn't falling in or lunging in or anything like that. He was able to keep his distance and stuff like that. But I just feel like even that's something I'm going to be able to work around And of course, I probably capitalize on a lot of flaws that I see.
Jaime Gutierrez says, "How's your camp going so far? Do you feel pressure going into this big fight?"
No, that's actually another thing about the whole coming in as a B-side, the underdog thing. There is no pressure. He has a stadium full of people in his backyard that he's got to perform for. I'm just doing this, like for me and my family. So it's it's been my same people, like my same small circle of people and all the believers. And when I go in there, I do say, I fight for the underdog. I'm representing them at this point, and that's what I fight for. But as far as pressure, like I mean, he's the one that's supposed to blow me out of the water again. So I feel no pressure. Just like when I went in there with Fundora, man, I was an 8-1 underdog. There's no pressure. It's all make believe. Nobody outside. Like I said, there's a whole stadium that I'm expecting. Whether some of them are cheering, most of them are booing. There's nobody else fighting for you. It's me, you, and the ref in that ring, and I'm able to block all that stuff out, like during the fight. So now, man, no pressure. I just go in there and do me.
Champ, did you give somebody a couple dollars to bet on you? 8-1? Damn. Danny Garcia was 7-1 versus Amir Khan. I didn't know you was eight to
Ooh.
one. Lord.
Yeah, 12-1 if you count the knockout.
Sheesh.
Um, but yeah, no, man, I definitely know a few people that made a couple bucks. I paid some people's rents, some car payments, got made. No, so not for sure, but that's one of the things like you said, the cat's kind of out of the bag, so I don't think I'll be 8-1 for a while now, but some people were able to capitalize off that one because they saw the work I was putting in behind the scenes.
It might be a good prop bet to bet like that there is a knockdown in your fight. You don't really have to pick
Oh, I
who
think
gets the
so.
knockdown, but they're probably you guys are both hitting, man. I got New York Bullet that
Mhm.
says, "What's up, champ? Blessings. Not sure if there's a rematch clause if you win. If there is, do you go back a second time the way that Haney did? Good luck, champ." So, is there a rematch, and do you have to go back to Australia like Devin Haney had to do?
I appreciate that love, bro. And then no, there is no rematch. And then I wouldn't believe so, like I mean it depends, like how everything kind of goes out there, but as far as a rematch, I would kind of say, bring this one back to the States, let's bring this back to America. My
Wait,
dream has
wait.
always been to be a
Because
sorry.
you're confusing us. You just said there is no rematch, or do you mean there's no rematch for you if you lose, but there's a rematch for him if he wins? I mean, if
Oh
he
no, no,
loses?
no, no, sorry, there's absolutely no rematch clause.
Oh my
There was
God. Wow. Shout out
yeah,
to
there was
Louis
none of
DeCubas. You got a title
that.
fight without a rematch with an A side. That's amazing.
Yeah, I
Wow,
didn't
bro. Wow.
yeah, so no, we got this stuff done and then no man, so we're completely in this and
Sheesh.
no, I feel like I said, my dream has always been to be a world champion. That's why another reason I jumped on, going across the world to defend this because I wanted to win and defend world titles across the world. So that's something that added to it as well.
Five more, champ. Dre Bogus says from San Diego, "It was a pleasure meeting you at the appreciation night. My question is, what is your favorite post fight meal?"
Man, my favorite post-fight meal. Oof, man, I've been getting really into Wagyu steak, and just man, some mac and cheese and everything after. Like, I need heavy food, like heavy, dense food. We start getting light, especially at the end of camp. I like a damn good steak, some pastas and stuff after that. Man, just eating heavy after for a little bit.
Ryan Fraser in Toronto, Canada, "Do you think a win over Tim Tszyu elevates you as the main guy to beat at 154?"
That's gonna be something for the people to decide. Like they've been, like even after the last one, they're talking about upset of the year, knockout of the year, this and that. That's something for that the people vote for. So if that's what you guys think so, but I mean, as far as me, it's not gonna change much, man. After this one, whether I'm the guy to beat or the guy, to kind of just get these fights made with, that having that full world title is gonna make a lot of changes. But I'm still gonna be chasing the biggest and baddest challenges. So. I'll probably still even be an underdog in the next one, but I'm gonna keep chasing these bigger goals.
Mad Bank, Kansas City, "When preparing for a fight, do you use visualization and verbal affirmations?"
Absolutely, every single day. I think that's it's a big part of, even just the confidence and everything, and truly believe in it. Like Wilder kind of made that one famous, speak it, believe it, receive it, speak it, believe it,
Yep.
receive it. So absolutely, man. I think if you don't visualize it, you're kind of going in there blind. You have to have been there before mentally. That's part of the reason I'm able to go into the lion's den. Even over here across the world, but I don't care. I've visualized every outcome. Every possible thing that Tszyu could come with, and I'm ready for anything. And it's because of that. It's because of the mentality, and because I'm constantly reinforcing that mentality as well through the affirmations and everything.
I got Manuel from the 408. He says, Manny from San Jose. Who are your top 5 fighters in your division in no order? That's actually an amazing question. I've been doing it so long. No one's ever asked top 5 in the specific division of the fighter you're speaking to. They usually just say, top 5 or the fighters you like to watch. But in your division, the top 5.
Man, top five. So obviously, I'd put me. There's obviously Charlo. There's Tszyu, and those are the top ones. But man, outside of that, I feel like this division is like I think I even said that last time we interviewed. This division is like hot potato. So the belts are always going back and forth like that. Like so, I feel like those next top two spots are they're up for grabs. Like with dudes like obviously Fundora still in the mix. Dudes like Ramos and Lubin. Fighting for those top spots. But I feel like I'll leave those last two blank. But the solidified. We have belts and we're literally at the top like that is me, Charlo, and Tszyu. So those last two, it's kind of to see by the end of the year, really, because there's a bunch of good fights coming up. But seeing who really establishes himself.
Do you feel, and I'm only asking this since you didn't clearly give a top 5 spot for Ramos, who holds a win over you. Do you feel that since that win he got over you, you've gotten 2 bigger wins on paper? Obviously, Jason Rosario is a more accomplished fighter than yourself, so your win over him was bigger than Ramos' win over you. And then your next win over Fundora, he was an interim more accomplished than yourself, so your win over him was a bigger win than Jesus' win over you. Is that how you're looking at it?
Yeah, and that's not me trying to throw shade at Ramos either. Like I do believe he's up there. I'm just saying, like the way that he's fighting these big fights, and it's just the way that it played out. I wasn't supposed to have bigger wins, but I was kind of thrown in as an opponent, but I got thrown into deep water, and instead of sinking, I've been swimming. So it's more of how that stuff played out. But no, I do believe he is up there, and I do believe that's a fight that's still very likely to get made down the line. So yeah, it's not me trying to throw shade or anything. I'm just saying, now like with him, he beats Lubin. I definitely think he gets that spot. And so yeah, no, of course, all these dudes still in the mix.
Last one from Mosby 700. Clemente from Phoenix is his real name. He says, when you beat Tim Zoo, are you looking to avenge your? I didn't see that. Are you looking to avenge your
Hey.
losses, Jesus Ramos, or are you moving on to bigger money fights?
So to be completely honest with you, I do obviously want that to avenge that loss, and that's a fight I am trying to definitely get into eventually. But if I have big fights like Charlo and stuff like that still ahead of me, those are fights I'm going to take first. But absolutely, man, I think that's a fight that's going to happen down the line.
Brian, that's all the questions, man. Thank you for your time once again. Please give out your social media. I'll also screen share here for those that aren't following you can do so. And we wish you the best of luck, man. And thanks again.
No, I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. And nah, man, let's get it. So my Instagram is at La Bala Mendoza. And nah, I appreciate all the love. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you for having me, man. And nah, let's go, man. We got some noise to do.
Appreciate you, man. Good luck. Oh, when you leaving for Australia?
I should be in attendance for the Canelo fight, and I believe I'll be leaving right after that. So 2 weeks before
Oh,
in Australia, probably like
nice.
October 1st. Yeah, yeah, get out there and
Salute
get
to you
acclimated.
and your team for giving you enough time. That's good. You usually hear guys take a week. I like that you're taking
Yeah,
2 weeks and treating it like a big fight, man. Congrats and best of luck.
of course, man. I appreciate that, man. No stone unturned. Let's get it.
All right. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Top contender and interim titleist Brian Lavala Mendoza. Family, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Help us get to that 1,000,000 subscribers. We're on the road to 1,000,000. And
Obviously, we have other great content on our Patreon channel. So since this video is over, head on over to our Patreon and check out all the exclusive content or right here on our YouTube members.